Welcome back. In today's video, let us discuss the topic malaria and life cycle of the causative agent of malaria, that is Plasmodium, and it is the topic from the second PUC syllabus, chapter Human Health and Disease. And let me give you some little introduction related to malaria. And we know various diseases, and out of all the diseases throughout the world, the most common disease is malaria, and which takes the lives of lakhs of people throughout the world. And this malaria disease is very common in tropical and subtropical countries of the world, and intensity of malaria is little less in the temperate countries, and it is more common in tropical and subtropical countries which are with hotter climatic conditions. And coming to the name malaria, and it is Italian origin. Malaria is actually the combination of two words, that is mala and aria. Mala means bad, aria means air. So initially it was thought that malaria is caused due to the harmful gases or harmful vapors released from the marshy areas. That's why this name malaria is given to this problem before knowing the original reason and original cause for malaria. And today we know malaria is caused by a protozoan parasite, that is Plasmodium. So malaria is a protozoan disease. It is caused by a protozoan parasite, that is Plasmodium, and Plasmodium belongs to phylum Protozoa, and it belongs to the class Sporozoa. And students, if you remember, sporozoans are the parasitic protozoans without locomotor organelles. So simply if you ask me what are sporozoans, sporozoans are the parasitic protozoans in which locomotor organelles are completely absent. So Plasmodium belongs to phylum Protozoa and class Sporozoa, and Plasmodium is responsible for causing the disease malaria. It was Dr. Laveron reported the presence of Plasmodium in the blood of a patient suffering from malaria, and mode of transmission of Plasmodium from one human to another human was a great mystery, and it was revealed by an army doctor, Ronald Ross. So Ronald Ross discovered the presence of oocyst of Plasmodium in the crop wall of female Anopheles mosquito. So with that it was made very clear Plasmodium not only can survive in the human body, it also can survive in the body of female Anopheles mosquito. So now we know that female Anopheles acts as the vector for Plasmodium. Ronald Ross made this discovery on August 20 of 1897. So now August 20 is observed as World Mosquito Day, and for this discovery Ronald Ross was awarded Nobel Prize in the year 1902. And also students should remember, every year April 25th is observed as World Malaria Day to create the awareness among the people related to the disease malaria, and what are the effects of malaria and how malaria spreads from one person to another person. 4 species of Plasmodium are known to cause malaria. Let us know. The 4 species of Plasmodium genus are Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium falciparum, and Plasmodium malaria. And let us know what are the types of malaria caused by different species of Plasmodium. And out of the 4 species, the most common species of Plasmodium is Plasmodium vivax, which is known to cause a type of malaria which is called benign tertian malaria, and Plasmodium ovale also causes benign tertian malaria, otherwise it is called mild tertian malaria. So students can simply remember 2 species of Plasmodium, that is Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium ovale, are known to cause the common form of malaria, that is benign tertian malaria, which is otherwise called mild tertian malaria. And out of these, the most common species is Plasmodium vivax. And third species, Plasmodium falciparum. So this Plasmodium falciparum is known to cause the most severe form of malaria, which is called malignant malaria. So students should remember, the most simple or mild form of malaria is benign tertian malaria, whereas the most severe form of malaria is called malignant malaria. Malignant malaria is caused by Plasmodium falciparum and it is also called cerebral malaria. So this malignant malaria is the very severe form of malaria. Symptoms are very dangerous, which can be fatal, and it is caused by Plasmodium falciparum. And the fourth species, that is Plasmodium malariae. Plasmodium malariae causes a type of malaria which is called quartan malaria. So with this, I want students to remember, in the Plasmodium genus, the 4 species are identified which are known to cause malaria. The 4 species are Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium malariae. Out of this, Plasmodium vivax is the most common species which is known to cause the most common form of malaria, that is benign tertian malaria. Plasmodium ovale causes mild tertian malaria. The most severe and dangerous form of malaria is malignant malaria. It is caused by Plasmodium falciparum. And another form of malaria is called quartan malaria. It is caused by Plasmodium malariae. In benign tertian malaria, symptoms are mild, that's why it is called benign, and the patient suffers symptoms of malaria after every 48 hours. Otherwise, I can say on every 3rd day of infection. That's why it is said to be tertian malaria. So as I already told you, the most common species Plasmodium vivax, it causes which type of malaria? Benign tertian malaria. And when a person is suffering from benign tertian malaria, symptoms are mild and the patient suffers symptoms of malaria on every 3rd day. That's why it is called tertian malaria. With that, it is very clear. I already told you, Plasmodium falciparum causes a rare form of malaria, but symptoms are very severe, that is malignant malaria, which can be fatal or which may lead to death, I said. And coming to Plasmodium malariae, you can see the name itself, quartan malaria. We are calling it quartan because patients suffer symptoms of malaria after every 72 hours on every 4th day of infection. That's why it is called quartan malaria. And when we look into the life cycle of Plasmodium, it is a digenetic parasite. Plasmodium is a digenetic parasite, means which requires 2 hosts for the completion of life cycle. So any parasite, if it continues its life cycle in 2 different hosts, such type of parasite is called digenetic parasite. And the 2 hosts for Plasmodium are the female Anopheles mosquito and human. So female Anopheles mosquito is said to be the primary host and human is said to be the secondary host. Here if you ask me the question, when a parasite requires 2 hosts for the completion of life cycle, on what basis we decide which is the primary host and which is the secondary host? Reason is very clear. Plasmodium completes its sexual phase of life cycle in the body of female Anopheles mosquito and it continues its asexual phase of life cycle in the body of human. So that's why female Anopheles is considered as the primary host, whereas human is considered as the secondary host. So in this way, Plasmodium performs sexual phase of life cycle, which is called sporogony. It occurs in the body of female Anopheles. Asexual phase of life cycle is called schizogony, which occurs in the body of human. As it requires 2 hosts for the completion of life cycle, it is called digenetic parasite. Otherwise, heterogeneous parasite we say. Usually parasites are Monogenetic parasite and digenetic parasite. Monogenetic means if any parasite completes its entire life cycle in the body of a single host like Salmonella typhi, Ascaris, etc. Entamoeba also completes its life cycle in the body of single host, that is human. So that's why Ascaris, Entamoeba, Salmonella are the examples for monogenetic parasite. Whereas Plasmodium requires two hosts for the completion of life cycle, hence it is a digenetic parasite, which is otherwise called heterogeneous parasite. And I repeat, female Anopheles is the primary host, human is the secondary host for Plasmodium. Now let us look into the life cycle of Plasmodium. As I already told you, Plasmodium is a digenetic parasite. It performs its asexual phase of life cycle in the body of human, and which we call it human phase of life cycle of Plasmodium. This human phase of life cycle of Plasmodium, simply we can call it schizogony. I repeat, in the body of human, Plasmodium performs asexual multiple fission. A stage called schizont undergoes asexual multiple fission within the human body. That's why this phase of life cycle is called schizogony. And when we go into details, in the human body, schizogony occurs in two places. That is, first schizogony occurs in hepatocytes of the liver, and this part of schizogony is called exoerythrocytic schizogony, and it is followed by schizogony within the RBC, which is called erythrocytic schizogony. So students should concentrate and understand. Plasmodium performs asexual multiple fission called schizogony in the human body, and schizogony occurs in how many places? In two places, that is in hepatocytes of the liver and within the RBC. So schizogony first occurs within hepatocytes of the liver, and that part is called exoerythrocytic schizogony, and it is followed by schizogony inside the RBC, which is called erythrocytic schizogony. So when we look into the details, the first and most important point, the infective stage of Plasmodium to man is called sporozoite. So the female Anopheles mosquito having infective stages of Plasmodium called sporozoites in its salivary glands when it bites a healthy human. So when Plasmodium injects its saliva, that saliva contains infective stages of Plasmodium which are called sporozoites. Just within 30 minutes of injection, sporozoites enter the liver cells, that is nothing but hepatocytes. Once the infective stage of Plasmodium called sporozoite enters the liver cells, on entering the liver cell, infective stage of Plasmodium, which I said it is sporozoite, and it gets converted into a feeding stage. This feeding stage is called trophozoite. So students must remember, not only in the life cycle of Plasmodium, in any parasite's life cycle, usually feeding stages are called trophozoite. So sporozoite is injected by whom? Female Anopheles mosquito into the blood of healthy human. Within 30 minutes of injection, these sporozoites migrate to hepatocytes of the liver, and inside the hepatocytes they get converted into feeding stages called trophozoite. So trophozoite starts feeding on inner contents of the liver cells for few days. After few days, trophozoite stops feeding, and the nucleus of the trophozoite undergoes repeated mitotic divisions, and it results in the formation of a multinucleated stage. This multinucleated stage is called schizont. And now where the schizont is formed exactly? Schizont is formed inside the hepatocytes of the liver, and now this schizont undergoes multiple fission. That's why I said within the human body, Plasmodium performs asexual multiple fission, which is called schizogony. Now where the schizont is formed? Within the hepatocytes of the liver. It undergoes asexual multiple fission called schizogony, and it results in the formation of the daughter cells which are called merozoites, otherwise called cryptozoites. So infected hepatocytes of the liver will rupture and the daughter cells are released, and these daughter cells are called merozoites, otherwise we can call them first generation merozoites. They are also called cryptozoites. These cryptozoites once again attack the healthy hepatocytes of the liver and complete one more round of schizogony. Now once again, what are produced? Next generation daughter cells are produced, and this next generation daughter cells are called second generation merozoites, otherwise called metacryptozoites. So here students should have the clarity. Infective stage is sporozoite, which is injected by female anaphylis into the blood of the human. Within 30 minutes, it migrates to hepatocytes of the liver, where it performs 2 rounds of asexual multiple fission. At the end of second round of asexual multiple fission, the resultant daughter cells which are formed are called second generation merozoites, otherwise called metacryptozoites. And these metacryptozoites are of 2 sizes, namely micro and macro. I can read it as micro metacryptozoites and macro metacryptozoites. Out of these, micro metacryptozoites being small in size, they are active. So they escape the liver and they enter the blood circulation. On entering the blood circulation, they penetrate the RBC. If you remember, I already told you, schizogony occurs in 2 places in the human body. Till now, whatever I have explained you, that is schizogony within hepatocytes of the liver. At the end of exoerythrocytic schizogony, what are formed? Micro metacryptozoites and macro metacryptozoites are formed. Micro metacryptozoites escape the liver, enter the blood circulation and penetrate the RBC. On penetrating RBC, what do they start? They start performing asexual multiple fission inside the RBC. What do we call it? Erythrocytic schizogony. So at the end of exoerythrocytic schizogony, what starts? Schizogony inside the RBC starts. That is called erythrocytic schizogony. This erythrocytic schizogony was explained by Golgi. Means how Plasmodium multiplies inside the RBC of humans was studied in detail by Dr. Golgi. Named after Golgi, erythrocytic schizogony is otherwise called Golgi cycle. Now let us look into erythrocytic schizogony, which is otherwise called Golgi cycle. I already told you, micro metacryptozoites which are formed as a result of exoerythrocytic schizogony penetrate the RBC. On entering the RBC, they start schizogony inside the RBC, which is otherwise called erythrocytic schizogony. So once these stages enter the RBC, within the RBC, once again Plasmodium gets converted into feeding stage, and the feeding stage is always called trophozoite. And this trophozoite starts feeding on the hemoglobin present inside the RBC. So this point is very important. Trophozoite is the feeding stage now, and it feeds on hemoglobin present inside the RBC. You know, hemoglobin is a conjugated protein. It is the combination of heme and globin. So whenever trophozoite feeds on hemoglobin, it can digest the protein part to globin, but the heme remains undigested, and that undigested heme gets converted into toxic granules, and these granules are called hemozoin granules. I repeat, as a result of hemoglobin digestion, what are formed? Toxic granules called hemozoin granules are formed. So now the trophozoite which is formed inside the RBC, it passes through various stages, and inside the RBC now the trophozoite occurs in the form of a special stage called Sinnett ring stage. So in Sinnett ring stage, inside the RBC, Plasmodium occurs like a small ring, means it develops a large food vacuole in the center. It pushes nucleus towards one end, only cytoplasm is present at the periphery. Altogether it looks like a ring inside the RBC. Hence it is called Sennett ring stage. And Sennett ring stage develops into the next stage called amoeboid stage. Name itself indicates now inside the RBC. Plasmodium develops pseudopodia and looks like amoeba. As it looks like amoeba inside the RBC, it is called amoeboid stage. So, trophozoite appears in various stages inside the RBC, which are called Sennett ring stage and amoeboid stage. Immediately after amoeboid stage, now nucleus of the plasmodium once again undergoes repeated mitotic divisions, and ultimately what is formed? A multinucleated stage. What do we call it? Schizont is formed. So now schizont once again undergoes asexual multiple fission inside the RBC. That's why we call it erythrocytic schizogony. Once asexual multiple fission occurs, when schizont divides inside the RBC, infected RBC will burst or rupture. By rupturing of the infected RBC, daughter cells are going to be released. And what do we call these daughter cells? They are called erythrocytic merozoites. Reason is very clear. These are the daughter cells, which do we naturally call them what? Merozoites. They are formed as a result of erythrocytic schizogony. That's why they are called erythrocytic merozoites. And erythrocytic merozoites keep on attacking healthy RBC and the life cycle continues. And this entire process usually for Plasmodium vivax requires 48 hours. Means erythrocytic schizogony of Plasmodium takes 2 days or 48 hours. And if you remember, when Plasmodium is continuing its life cycle inside the RBC, at every round of erythrocytic schizogony, what is happening? RBC are getting burst, and from the burst RBC, what is released? Toxic substance called hemozoin. I already told you, when RBC was present, when Plasmodium was present inside the RBC, it was feeding on hemoglobin. As a result of hemoglobin digestion, what is formed? Toxic granules or toxic substance called hemozoin is produced. At the end of every round of erythrocytic schizogony, due to rupturing of RBC, toxic granules called hemozoin granules are released into the blood. So, which cause the symptoms of malaria. That's why the most common species of Plasmodium is Plasmodium vivax. Malaria caused is called benign tertian malaria because symptoms reoccur on every third day or after every 48 hours. This is the reason. If the question is asked in benign tertian malaria, why symptoms occur on every third day? Because one round of erythrocytic schizogony requires 48 hours. Erythrocytic merozoites keep on attacking the healthy RBC and they continue erythrocytic schizogony, because of which it is very clear RBC will be continuously getting burst. And due to continuous bursting of the RBC, size of the spleen may increase or enlarge, and that condition is called splenomegaly. And in severe infection, it may result in hepatitis-like situations also. And this process will be continuing, and symptoms of malaria will be reoccurring on every 48 hours. And very few of the erythrocytic merozoites come out of the regular life cycle and they transform into the cells called gametocytes. So here students should remember, most of the erythrocytic merozoites continue in the regular life cycle, but some of the erythrocytic merozoites come out of their regular life cycle and get transformed into the cells called gametocytes. And if you ask me what are gametocytes, my answer is gamete mother cells. Means in the future, in the body of female Anopheles, these cells only will form male and female gametes. And these gametocytes, based on the size, they are of two types: microgametocytes and macrogametocytes. So finally, in the human body, Plasmodium stops its life cycle by the formation of what cells called gametocytes. Based on the size, they are said to be microgametocytes and macrogametocytes. And these microgametocytes will form male gametes in the future. But where? in the body of female Anopheles mosquito, macrogametocytes will form the female gametes, that too in the body of female Anopheles mosquito. So, in the human body, Plasmodium's life cycle starts with what? Sporozoite, and ends with what? Formation of the cells called gametocytes. And these gametocytes, within 7 days after the formation, they must be transferred into the body of female Anopheles mosquito. So once these gametocytes are transferred into female Anopheles mosquito, where they start mosquito phase of life cycle. So with this it is very clear, when a female Anopheles bites a patient who is already suffering from malaria, in the blood of that patient various stages of Plasmodium are present. So all the stages of Plasmodium enter the body of female Anopheles mosquito, but in the gut of female Anopheles mosquito, due to the action of digestive enzymes, all other stages of Plasmodium are digested except the stages called gametocytes. So these gametocytes will begin mosquito phase of life cycle of Plasmodium. Now let us look into the mosquito phase of life cycle of Plasmodium. I already told you, Plasmodium performs sexual phase of its life cycle in the body of female Anopheles mosquito, and if you remember, at the end of erythrocytic schizogony, Plasmodium forms the stages called what? Gametocytes. Means when a person is suffering from malaria, in the blood of that person various stages of Plasmodium are present. When a female Anopheles mosquito bites and sucks the blood from the malarial patient, different stages of Plasmodium enter the gut of female Anopheles mosquito, but in the gut of female Anopheles mosquito, all other stages are subjected to death except the micro and macro gametocytes will survive. And micro gametocytes, on entering the body of female Anopheles mosquito, they produce the male gametes. So micro gametocytes are responsible for the production of male gametes. Male gametes are produced by a process called exflagellation from the stage called microgametocyte, and macrogametocyte just increases in its size and develops into female gamete. So this is how the male and female gametes are produced in the body of female Anopheles mosquito from the micro and macro gametocyte. When male gamete fuses with the female gamete, it results in the formation of zygote, and zygote develops into a stage called ookinete, and ookinete later develops a wall surrounding it and it transforms into a stage called oocyst. If you remember, when I was telling you about Dr. Ronald Ross discovered the presence of oocyst of Plasmodium in the crop wall of female Anopheles mosquito, I said, and I was talking about this stage only. So a stage called oocyst is formed in the crop wall of female Anopheles mosquito, and nucleus of the oocyst undergoes repeated mitotic divisions and it results in the formation of a multinucleated stage which is called sporocyst, and sporocyst undergoes multiple fission and it results in the formation of the daughter cells which are otherwise called sporozoite. So if you remember, sporozoite is the infective stage of Plasmodium to man. So this is how finally in the body of female Anopheles mosquito what are formed? Sporozoites are formed. So sporozoites will migrate to salivary glands of female Anopheles mosquito, and once again the Anopheles mosquito having sporozoites in its salivary glands, when it bites a healthy person, once again sporozoites are injected into the blood of a healthy person. Once again human phase of life cycle starts. So this is how Plasmodium performs asexual phase of life cycle in the body of human, and whereas it performs sexual phase of life cycle in the body of female Anopheles mosquito. So this is how Plasmodium needs two hosts for the completion of its life cycle. That's why it is called a digenetic parasite. Till now we understood the detailed life cycle of malarial parasite, that is Plasmodium, and if you remember I said The most common species in the Plasmodium genus is the Plasmodium vivax, and this Plasmodium vivax is known to cause the most common form of malaria, which is called benign tertian malaria. Benign, the word indicates symptoms are mild, and in benign tertian malaria, or when we look into symptoms of malaria, high fever like body temperature will be around 40 degrees Celsius, and person suffers from chills and headache. And in initial stages, person suffers from persistent or continuous fever, but in later stages what happens? Person develops a synchronous periodicity, we say. Synchronous periodicity is nothing but person starts suffering from symptoms of malaria on every third day or after every 48 hours. Reason I already told you. So one round of erythrocytic schizogony of Plasmodium requires 48 hours. At the end of every round of erythrocytic schizogony, from the infected RBC, by rupturing of infected RBC, what are going to be released? Toxic granules called hemozoin granules are released. So what is the main reason for symptoms in malaria? Straight away answer is release of hemozoin granules into the blood. When the hemozoin granules are released into the blood at the end of every round of erythrocytic schizogony. See, I have written a word here, that is incubation period. If you ask me what is the definition for incubation period, it is the time interval between initial infection and onset of symptoms. Not only in malaria, for any disease, incubation period is nothing but the time interval between initial infection and onset of the symptoms. For Plasmodium vivax, in malaria, incubation period is usually 10 to 12 days, because exoerythrocytic schizogony, which occurs in hepatocytes of the liver, it takes 8 to 10 days. And you already know erythrocytic schizogony, which occurs inside the RBC, takes 48 hours, that is 2 days. So that's why after the infection, person starts showing symptoms of malaria after minimum 10 days or maximum 12 days. So that is what we consider incubation period for Plasmodium vivax. And one more word I have written, pre-patent period. So it is the time interval between initial infection and the first reappearance of parasite in the blood. Means, if you understand the topic clearly, when female Anopheles injects sporozoites into the blood, just within 30 minutes, they migrate into what? Hepatocytes of the liver, where they start exoerythrocytic schizogony. And when does Plasmodium reoccurs in the blood? After the completion of 2 rounds of schizogony within the hepatocytes, and it takes minimum 8 to 10 days, and that is what we call pre-patent period. Means, if a person is infected with sporozoites today and tomorrow you check for the presence of Plasmodium in the blood sample, you are not going to find it. You can find the Plasmodium in the blood serum of that person minimum after 8 days and maximum after 10 days of the infection. And that time interval, it is called pre-patent period. And finally, let us look into the treatment or drugs which are used in the treatment of malaria. The most commonly used drug used in treatment of malaria, that is quinine. So simply I can say quinine is the anti-malaria drug, and this anti-malaria drug is extracted from the bark of the plant cinchona. From bark of cinchona plant, anti-malaria drug is extracted. What is the name of anti-malaria drug? It is quinine, and today in the market it is available in the form of hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine. So in the market, anti-malaria drug is available in the form of chloroquine, otherwise we call it hydroxychloroquine, but actually it is quinine which is extracted from the bark of the plant cinchona. So this is the information about disease malaria, and malaria is a protozoan disease caused by Plasmodium, and Plasmodium is a protozoan parasite. And how to control malaria? In the introduction already I told you, lakhs of people are dying because of malaria. So how to control malaria? Just we have to control the population of female Anopheles mosquitoes. If we control the population of female Anopheles mosquito, Plasmodium cannot actively spread from one person to another person. So how can we control the mosquito population? As we all know, we should avoid stagnant waters in the domestic areas, and if any stagnant waters are there, we have to spray the chemicals like DDT, etc. And as a biological control measure, we can employ the small larvivorous fishes which are called Gambusia fishes. So wherever stagnant waters are present, if we leave these small fishes called Gambusia fishes, naturally they feed on the insect larva, that is mosquito larvae. They can naturally control the mosquito population. So hope you understand the detailed life cycle of Plasmodium and related information of malaria in this video. Thank you.